think I'm live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Street Epistemology video review show. I'm Reid Nicewander, your host for today, and I've got a few guests here: Dali, Mark, and Nathan. What's up, you guys?
Hey,
loving it. Ready to go.
Good to be on the show. Excited to see what Anthony did today on the Atheist Experience.
Yeah, that's really cool to see. Anthony's on the Atheist Experience. Dali and Nathan, you guys have been here before, but Mark, I think is your first time on the SE Video Review Show. Who are you? What are you about?
Hey, Reid. I'm Mark Solomon, and I have a small little podcast called Being Reasonable, and it's just it's a SE format, kind of a long format show, and where I usually talk to one person for about an hour, and we kind of take a journey together and see if we can get to a big T truth by the end. And sometimes we can, and sometimes we can't. But that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely recommend people check out his podcast, Being Reasonable.
Thank you.
So yeah, today we are just gonna. Anthony just did this, over the past 2 hours or so on the Atheist Experience, and we didn't know what was going to happen, but I think we found one interesting clip, at least one interesting question Anthony did, or a good line of reasoning he went down for this little part of the episode, and then we might also review some of his conversation with Caleb, his second conversation with Caleb that he did. I don't know when he did it, but he released it last week. So that's another video we'll review as well. So all right, let's get into it. Feel free to pause whenever you think something is interesting. Here we go.
We're feeling creatures, right? It's kind of hard to deal with it. Let me ask you this: I'm a little curious. What do you think you'd be missing if you came around to realizing, like, I can't back up the claim that there are souls, and I understand that I love the it's very appealing to think that I might go on afterwards in some sort of supernatural realm.
Just to set up this clip, Amber is let me see what my notes were. She was like a agnostic kind of, agnostic. She was wondering about, do souls exist? She was like, kind of having that type of question. And she was just, about 50% about it. And Anthony was going over this type of question of, like, what is she missing in her life if she found souls do not exist? So I like this line of questioning.
A question that provokes wonder.
Yeah. And it also gets down to kind of the psychological needs level. And she talked a little bit about death and worrying about that. And I think it gets into interesting places. Here we go.
But here's what what do you think you'd be missing? Like, do you think that this life right now would be any less if you didn't think that there was an afterlife for you? Is that something that you've ever thought about or considered?
Yes, I've thought about that. I've thought, if I live this life believing that there is nothing in the beyond and I go in the beyond, what if, and because we don't know what's going on in the beyond, what if my whole purpose was to believe despite the barrier? Or, maybe it was some game. We don't know. Maybe they're playing a game up there, and this is just like a test. If souls exist and we're immortal, then we have tons of time, and maybe this is just something we're doing just for shits and giggles. Maybe the goal was to believe in it, and when you come out and you believe regardless. I have no idea. I've thought of many stupid stuff. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where I'm coming at. It could be anything, right? In the beyond, not. The possibility that there might be something out there, and if there is, what is the purpose of coming in here? I think about it.
That's the second time she said purpose, and that's another huge area of psychological needs. I would note that in my mind when I'm asking questions. So
right, and he's asking her, how would your life be different? And is she saying that my life wouldn't have purpose, or that what is she saying about the purpose exactly? And that's a great way to pin down maybe the motivation for believing it.
Yeah, does the lack of an afterlife, does the lack of souls somehow relate to the lack of purpose in this life? Maybe that would be interesting.
So I don't know. That's not a really good idea, but I think about it and sit and think about a bunch of different ideas, and you can't.
So correct.
Touch it or look at it. You can make up anything. right?
Correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong, but
you
it
could
sounds
make up anything.
it sounds like you are please correct me if I'm wrong.
Good. Clarifying question. That's good. Or poor question.
It sounds like you're afraid of letting go. Like, well, if I don't believe that there's a soul, well, then what would I believe? It sounds like that's where you're getting stuck. Is that right?
That might be. It might be a little fear of letting go. But I want to. Like, I watch your show purposely to let go, but I don't know. It's just like dug in.
So,
Programming.
Did I ever get it? Did I ever get an answer to the question like what would be missing in your life if?
oh, sorry.
I shouldn't touch the microphone. Sorry, I don't know why I did that.
I
Yeah.
wanna say, in my life, there wouldn't be anything missing. I guess it's what Jenna was saying, but it's more of the fear. But I guess I really wouldn't be missing anything. I don't think. I can't.
So I wonder
If you
go
came to
ahead.
realize that there probably wasn't a supernatural realm, or you couldn't justify a supernatural realm, I think what you're saying is that your life today and in the future wouldn't be all that different. But if that's not what you're saying, correct me.
Well, there is the idea that my soul, like, well, if, and then this is what a lot of Christians use, I think, for why there should be a God is like as to why you should behave, right? And then, you know, like if there's no moral, like, repercussions afterwards, or like support, you know, praying and like talking to people. I talk to myself regardless, but it would be nice to know that there's something out there listening to me that is helping me, you know, along in the world. And I think I would be missing out on that too.
All right. More psychological stuff, you know, relating to morals and relating to having control in life, you know, something out there feeling, you know, like they are, what did she say? Let me go back a bit.
Knowing that I have something on the other side of this, but it would be nice to know that there's something out there listening to me.
Something out there listening.
Right.
Therefore relating to, you know, helping her feel more in control in life. Interesting.
Yeah, this
That is
belief gives me
healthy.
a sense of control, sounds like. Is what
I
I'm
think
hearing you say.
Broad categories of psychological stuff I put stuff in as like control, attribution, like, you know, making sense of the world, and sociality, and morals. Morals
Is comfort included in one of those? Because I think a lot of people think of things because they're comforting.
Comfort relates to
Often.
control. Yeah.
Control, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I get a
Mark.
sense of a fear avoidance from her, in the sense that if you go through your whole life and you believe that there's a soul, and you believe that you are going to live infinitely, and then all of a sudden that belief is challenged, that's a big thing to get your head around. And I could see trying to avoid thinking that and avoid the fear from that.
Yeah, it's like human beings, we don't really naturally think in terms of scientific, you know, epistemically rigorous, methodologically rigorous ways of coming to believe things. It's like we just have, you know, stories, and we contextualize ourselves in these stories and like what our social group thinks. And then what, you know, we've just developed through civilization and like educational institutions ways of making it more rigorous, our beliefs. And so we just need to help people process their feelings the way we feel naturally into more rigorous reasons and standards, epistemic standards, you know. And if we need to talk about ways of meeting these psychological needs in more, you know, reality-based ways, ideally. So that's just a huge part of it. Yeah. All right. Where else do they go with this?
Me, you know, along in the world. And I think I would be missing out on that too, knowing that I have something on the other side guiding me through life. Because I used to be spirituality and New Age, and
Knowing you have something on the other side, or thinking that there's something on the other side?
well, for me, it was knowing. I was Gnostic at one point, where I was like absolutely certain that there was, but I've moved down to agnostic, where I'm just not sure. But I guess
Okay.
thinking is probably more correct, thinking or believing that there is.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if have you thought about, well, what if, and just kind of try to sit on it and consider it for a minute, that we're just chemicals that we are just physical beings. I wonder if you've considered, what if that's just all there is, and any meaning that there is in this life, we assign it to ourselves, and any feeling to a higher power, that's just a feeling that we have feeling ourselves. Have you considered that option? I'm just curious.
So this is the Atheist Experience, not exclusively student epistemology. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's
question?
kind of a harsh question in that if you just look at it straight, but you can see where she's coming from.
Yeah, shoot that messenger. Shoot that messenger.
That would be considered sending a message through a question.
Yeah,
it's fine to,
sneaky little direct message.
Have a person ask what you think, how you would go about dealing with, potentially being just chemicals, as she says, or just, just a part of the universe, matter in motion. So, but this question,
it can be frustrating if we think one way and somebody else hasn't considered it before. We feel sometimes like we need to send the message through a question. And I'm wondering if there might be a way to at least invoke the idea without actually sending a message. So maybe asking a question like, if you didn't have this belief, what belief would there be left? Would you think we're all bags of chemicals, maybe? Or I don't know if that might still be sending a messenger, but there might be a way to simplify that. Maybe like asking, what would be left if you didn't have this? Would there be nothing left? Would be a way to maybe phrase it.
That's a good point, Nathan. And sometimes
asking for an open alternative as opposed. Go ahead. Sorry, Mark.
Go ahead. I don't know.
This is what happens to get street epistemologists who interrupt each other.
Sometimes with these questions, and I think we've all used this strategy before. Is this could be a good way to go into what is the second best explanation if this one didn't pan out, or if this was turned out, not saying this is the case, if this wasn't true, what would the runner-up be?
That was just about what I was about to say. I love what is the second best way of meeting this, whatever the psychological need is. And that's a great way to brainstorm ways to do that. That's great. What you were saying, Dali?
Same thing, asking for an open alternative as opposed to granting one. And second best is, I think, a good way to ask for the open alternative.
Yeah, for this person who's
especially because your conversation partner gets to take ownership of the idea once they present one. And it doesn't come from the person who's asking the questions, it comes from the interviewer. Or interviewee, rather. So, I really love that. I actually learned that from you, Reid, like 3 years ago. I've used it ever since. It's great.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I learned the second best from you, Reid. So I don't want to claim anything here.
Well, thank you. I'm not sure where I got it from. I think I was listening to David McCraney. You're Not So Smart, and he had this metaphor about like a stool where, related to the psychological beliefs. If the belief removes a leg, you need something underneath it to replace it kind of immediately. So you need to have these things as available as options to replace stuff in order to get people to be more open to revising their beliefs. It's very hard for stuff like that.
I found it very effective in my own personal life, even when I'm not doing SE, just having conversations with people in general all the time about things. I'll ask for the second best alternative. It's good. It's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Should we keep going?
That's kind of the main thing from this conversation. We can keep going for a few more minutes and see if anything's interesting. I forgot what happens, so we'll see what happens.
Okay.
I mean, yes, like slightly, but not as deeply, I would like to say. I haven't thought about it as much, I guess. Because I went through a depression recently because I was losing my faith in spirituality and that there was anything out there. And it was a really scary and dark time because I'm like losing the belief that there's something else out there. It's really terrifying. And so I know why a lot of theists are,
really terrifying. There's a huge field of study in psychology called terror management theory, which I think relates to the denial of death and other things. So that seems to be good confirmation of that theory, potentially. It's just anecdotal, but yeah, that's what I think when I hear stuff like that.
Like, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but like hard pressed not to move out. I asked my mom because she swears every day she's gonna convert me back to Christianity, and she prays for my soul. And I told her like, well, what would happen if you actually opened your mind to the idea that there might not be a God? She said she would lose her life. Those were literally her words. She would lose her life, and I get it.
Mom would lose her life, so that relates to sociality. She has a very close, relationship with, I assume, her mom, and so that's a huge psychological need as well. Being, having good relationships with your, close family members. So that's another huge part of it. So lots of stuff going on.
A question I might ask at this point, and let me know if this isn't a good question, but I might ask, do you think that you get a lot of your fears about what not holding this belief would be like from your mom? Or do you and your mom talk a lot? Like, how much does your mom's belief influence your beliefs? Sounds like they are kind of related in that way. Like she said basically her mom is motivated to believe some things based off of similar fears. So I'm just wondering if there's maybe a connection there.
Yep, potentially. So I think it's basically more of like this type of vibe. But
okay,
we can go on to Anthony's second talk with Caleb. Let me switch over to that real quick. I love that talk. It's like someone said, I think Quinn said it was like a master class. SE.
Push out their way up is something like a remarkable cast. I guess the last thing would be hard.
One thing I want to point out about this video while you're queuing it up is how well Anthony executes good rapport in this interview, which we're going to probably skip all of it because it's like 20 minutes of follow-up and rapport. And it really does relax the whole conversation. It sets a really good foundation for an open, honest discussion about deeply held beliefs that really allow for some critical evaluation without any kind of heated animosity. And they really do, like, from only watching it once, I really felt like they work together well as a team to kind of work through his ideas on why he believes what he believes. And I think that's in large part due to the rapport process that Anthony puts in so much energy into.
Yeah, and just Anthony does a really good job of like recapping his first interview or conversation with Caleb. So we'll watch that first little bit from his video. This is great. I just noticed he added like a physical shake to the wide camera related to the foot noise of the other area. That's hilarious.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah, it's like, why would that noise make that camera shake? That he did that digitally, just as a joke, I assume. just noticed that.
Let's go see where Caleb's at.
How you doing today, sir?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, nothing much. My name's Caleb. What's yours, sir?
Caleb.
June 1st, 2014. Wow. Wow.
Yes, sir.
Oh, good Bible name. My name's Anthony.
Well, good to meet you. Yeah, my mom was hoping I'd be bold someday and trying to tell people about the Lord and everything.
Oh, yeah?
My mom, and again, another interesting sociality connection.
What is your belief system then? Because right now it seems like you're trying to work me around with logic. And I'll be honest, logic kills people. Logic is one of those things that if people try to take logic to its end, it causes issues. Because think of Hitler. Zach, you're going to find this. When you talk to them, they don't have a reason.
This is Zach here.
You've seen Evolution versus God, right? You probably watched that documentary.
Oh, that's a great
Every
one.
single person that you talk to,
Great comfort.
they don't have a
Anthony being sarcastic and dismissive.
response.
This is pretty early, Anthony. Here.
Yeah.
Let's say that there was a contradiction about.
You're going to ask me if I would lose my faith, and I've already said
Well,
yes, I
can I
would
just
lose
say-
my faith.
You would,
Yes, and I'm still waiting to hear
if you
from
saw
the
it. Okay. Then I definitely want to get your contact information so that I can provide you with one. And the one that I'm
But
thinking.
you won't talk to me in person about it. Why not?
Oh, we can meet again on camera. I have no problem doing
I
that.
don't mind talking about it right now.
I'm running out of
I'm
time.
prepared.
I'm not. I'm running out of time, and there's another preacher that I have to talk to.
I'm
A good question would
bit
be,
confused by all the
how
walking.
much would you? All the walking.
Go ahead, Mark.
Oh no, I don't remember seeing this one, and I was just confused by the walking in the background. But I'm sure it'll become clear.
Yeah, Anthony's meeting up with Caleb, who he talked to in 2014 in this new video where he met up with them, I think sometime last year.
Okay.
And he's finally getting around to, I think, editing it. So this is
Okay.
that was just the context for this new conversation. There's follow-up.
Gotcha.
And then we get to around 20 minutes. I think that's where we wanted to start it. Great. All right.
But it
If
was
somebody-
pointing out all these things, but
If somebody says that they will lower their confidence if provided some information, either just inconsistencies or evidence of some kind, it's always good to ask them by how much. Only because they might say 5% or something, in which case that's not a main reason why they're leaning on this idea. And so it's just a good way to verify with them. Yeah.
Yeah. So
All right.
I haven't gone through this video and made any highlight points. So we'll just start from here and give our thoughts as we watch. And we probably won't make it all the way through, but we'll just go in for another 40 minutes and see how it goes.
Sure.
in the end, it left the argument of it doesn't matter how many people have a viewpoint for something. It doesn't necessarily make it right just because that has to be supported by the evidence, has to be supported by the facts. Because there's plenty of times in history where someone's come along and say, hey, this is the way up is up and the way down is down or something like that.
It conflicted with the consensus.
The general thing that people flipped out. And a big part is just that this book was trying to push out there is that it just goes back to the evidence. Because what you mean, you see how social media works. People go back and forth. They hate this thing one week, they hate this thing the next week. And people seem to go back and forth on social media kind of thing. And people aren't always ready to hear the facts. People aren't always ready to sit down with it. So I guess, to answer your question, I'd still be a young earth creationist. I'm open to talking about different views. I'll be honest, I'm not a scientist. So when you hit a certain point where the technical jargon, I have to get a dictionary to look up those words. And,
I'm definitely not a scientist in that area either, although my view would be that evolution is a settled fact. That would be my position on it, but I'm open to it as well. It's nice to hear that at least you're open to changing your view on it. Is your view that a God exists dependent on evolution being false?
No, because like I said, there's plenty of people I know who are Christians.
Okay.
So
Great question.
I don't think Anthony asked that in his original conversation. So he can now skip everything about evolution to talking about other things, which I think he does.
Right. I think he did a great job this time, slowing the pace of this talk. It's like night and day between this one and the first one. And that's a great example of him slowing down and then just verifying to see if this reason's really one that he leans on the most.
Yeah, it's so much more chill. Love it.
Right.
And they still believe in evolution.
So accepting evolution wouldn't change your worldview whatsoever with regards to a God existing. Okay.
Because I guess what you call those people would be a theistic evolution someone who believes that God created evolution and set that in motion.
Yes.
And that plenty of people have that viewpoint. And so when it's all said and done, to believe in Jesus, there isn't some requirement that you buy the book of Genesis and believe the book of Genesis. Well, I believe that's important because it's like me being the first chapter of a big book. It's kind of important, but I don't see that as being the thing to argue with somebody if there's bigger issues at hand, or the biggest thing to discuss if there's issues at hand, because I guess when it's all done, it goes back to more the morals part of things, more the spiritual part of things, or or heaven or hell. Do you believe in heaven or hell? And if so, where are you going to die? I feel like that's so much more important
Morals and death.
than which translation do you read of the Bible? Because I know some people have bar fights over that. Yeah.
On that note, though, before I forget, theists who accept evolution fascinate me. Well, actually, and theists who don't fascinate me as well. Because it would seem that if we evolved, if we really did evolve, then
He did it again. The white shot shakes.
the whole story in Genesis really doesn't quite make a lot of sense to me. So I think on that point, I might share some commonalities with you in not quite understanding why the theists are accepting evolution.
It's trying to merge two. You grew up one way in school learning these are the XYZ
I resonate
facts.
with that.
This
You do?
Yeah, a little bit. It's like, I don't know how to put it in words. It's just, yeah, if you think this is an inherent word of God and you calculate all the dates in it, it does give a date for the world. And so one might think like either you pick and choose the things that you like from this text, or you believe all of it, or you don't believe it. And so that's what I'm hearing him kind of basically illustrate using different words.
Mm-hmm. And Anthony it's just really great conversation. So feel free to point out anything that Anthony is doing that's obviously an SE technique or some type of technique from how to have impossible conversations that you notice that people probably wouldn't notice to do or remember to do. Feel free to let people know.
Thank you for Addison and Willie. Yes, I agree. Very different, Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
With you in not quite understanding why the theists are accepting evolution.
It's trying to merge two. You grew up one way in school learning these are the XYZ facts, this about the Bible, or the XYZ facts that you don't mix. You got to make one of them work, and it's so much easier to bend something. Most of us have no clue about the Bible. It's easier to bend. How does the Bible work, and work that with how we think science works. And so it's so much easier when it's all said and done to have the Bible take the blow.
Yeah.
And that's take as your belief.
For you, it sounds like what you're saying is the Bible is pretty much everything. Like the Bible is the reason why you think your God is real. Is that?
Even be entirely, maybe kind of be a big part, but it wouldn't be that.
I'm sorry.
It'd be a big part.
Is it just the background noise is blowing on my ears?
When I mutter like that, it doesn't help out much either. It's a big part, but it's not the only reason. Kind of like believing in creation doesn't necessarily make me believe that God is my savior. Believing in the Bible being real, true, doesn't necessarily make me believe that God is my savior. I can believe the Bible is true all day long. When it's all said and done, who I make my Lord, who I make my savior, is kind of a different decision. Because I know people who believe the Bible is true, but they never trust in Jesus to save them.
Wouldn't a person need to read the Bible first, though, to understand that the story of Jesus and the messages and all that stuff?
Someone could tell them about it. I've seen that playing with people who can't read, and someone tells them about Jesus. They basically can go that route.
And yet the person making the oral tradition would have to have the source document for it, right?
Unless you just go historical documents. If you just shove the Bible all aside and just go from historical accounts of Jesus. Because I know some people do it that way.
I remember when we met, one thing that we talked a lot about was contradictions. And one of the frequent comments on the video is, did you ever give them the contradictions? They were asking me this because we were talking about contradictions.
I was waiting for the list. First week, month, I was waiting for some email, here's the PDF spreadsheet, and get your Greek and Hebrew out, get ready for this. I was like, I was waiting for it.
What I always replied with was, I'm not going to give them any contradictions until it's confirmed to me that contradictions would lower your confidence that the Bible was a source of truth.
Right.
And I think I haven't looked at the email threads. It's been years since we've had them. And I thought we talked about contradictions a little bit. Like, is this what you need to see? And I don't think I ever got an answer on it. You may have. I don't know. I don't remember. But when I'm talking with somebody, just like the evolution thing, one thing that I've learned from this conversation is that it would really make no sense to discuss evolution with you or show that it's true.
If it wouldn't dismantle my view, it would just be a waste. It would be like running the wheels.
If it wouldn't have any influence on your conclusion that a God is real, why would I want to talk about evolution? So I'm putting that on the back burner. Now I'm kind of interested in contradiction. Well, that's kind of why I was asking you about the Bible.
I'd say even if we went through and
Great
showed me
transparency.
the Old Testament was illegitimate or something like that, it'd still
Yeah,
be
like
spinning the wheels, I guess, from personal experience and things like that.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat back what I heard you just say. Even if we were to go through the Bible and find contradictions between Old Testament and New Testament, hello, and we identified contradictions, like you define what a contradiction is, and we pointed out 20 of them, it wouldn't change your position on the God existing at all. It's more personal experience. That's what I think I just heard you say.
Okay, I see where we're going with. So, to believe in something, this is just.
Oh wow, that was recorded in 2018. Wow, he's had this for a while then. Wow.
Just look.
That's a great exchange right there.
Yeah.
It just shows you how important it is to really understand, really get at why they believe what someone believes, and not assume that there's a reason that you're going after, because you can go down a rabbit hole where you can talk about contradictions in the Bible and that kind of thing, and you could discover 20 minutes later that means nothing to the person you're talking to, because that's not why they believe it, and or it wouldn't change their confidence level at all. And he makes sure to tell the audience basically that, well, we could, I've had questions. I had people ask me to ask you that question, but I'm not going to, because it's not going to make a difference. It won't matter. And I think it's sometimes we can, lose sight of that when we're trying to figure out the correct questions to ask to get at the reliability of why they believe what they believe.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
You can pick anything in the world. There's typically not like one thing you point to. This is why I believe in this. I guess at work we call it the totality of the circumstances. It's the technical.
There's so many reasons for it.
There's so many reasons to pick one. Get set on that one, and you want to shred that one. You could really do it in court. They pick that one reason and they flesh it out, and they make the person up on the stand look like an absolute idiot for using that one reason. When really it wasn't that one reason. There's so many reasons, and to set apart one by itself would totally dismiss all the other ones and their validity. So I guess before it makes it sound like I'm not listening to any kind of sound, because it would sound like, oh, you don't listen to science, you don't listen to contradictions, you don't listen to this and this. It's not that. It's when you take all of these things together, you put it as a package. Yeah, I believe in Jesus. Yeah, I believe in God. But if you were to then rip out one of those entirely, I guess like on the spokes of a wheel, I mean, there's still that support. There's still that, like, if we're gonna go with illustration, we're just gonna get ripped apart. You say, is it a wooden wheel, metal wheel, kind of wheel we got?
I love the metaphor.
Because that's.
I love the metaphor. It's perfect. Yeah, you've got this wheel, right? And you have all these different spokes. And one spoke is evolution, and the other one is contradictions, and the other ones might be personal experience.
Really how we arrive at a lot of different stuff. That's how you arrive at. Do I like this person? Do I want to marry this person? Do I like this job? What about this job you take? There's so many aspects. It's not just, because if we were to discuss a job, it's not just pay. What are the benefits? What are the hours? What are the this? What's that? Because you remove one, how does this work out? Well, for some people, they'll just bite the bullet and they'll keep going with it. Other people, no, that'd be enough. They're done with it, kind of thing. Going back to more of the topic, some people, as soon as life gets a little bit rough, like, forget this Jesus thing. I thought my life was.
I think it's a horrible reason to give up a belief, because maybe you've had a bad experience, or
but for some people,
your spouse died in a horrible accident, and then stopping to believe something. It doesn't. I understand the emotion. Yes, for some people it's enough, but I meet a lot of atheists who don't believe in a God because of very poor reasons, and I'm willing to explore their wheel and their spokes, just like I would do with you or anyone else that might be believing that a God is real.
I guess for most people, it's typically kind of scary to really sit down and say, why do.
I just want to say that I love that that approach of taking somebody who doesn't think what we think, or thinks the opposite of what we think, and how we would apply the same questions to that side. And if they don't have good reasons for saying what they're saying, what would we think about that? And then just using that as an outsider test of sorts, I suppose. Would you consider that an outsider test?
Yeah, I think so.
It's an outsider test in a manner of speaking. I guess it's an outsider test for the dialectic itself, for street epistemology. Like, what if I go to these other people and they don't have reasons for what they're saying, they're just saying it? Or what if their reasons are bad? They have like 20 bad reasons, but they say when you add up all 20 of these bad reasons, it makes a good reason to think it. Yeah, so anyway, that was all. Just wanted to point that out.
Sure.
Do I, when you back down and try to get back to square one, I guess, well, why do you believe in, are you an atheist then? Okay, so
Yeah.
Why are you an atheist? Like, what led you to this?
When I look at all the spokes that would support a wheel of belief in God, the spokes, they're either non-existent or they're woefully weak. So I've examined the spokes that I was given to support my belief that a God was real, and they just didn't hold up to the scrutiny.
Like, did you grow up with it? Was it your parents?
I did grow up with it. Yeah.
Was it grandparents? Like, how many generations does it go
Oh
back?
gosh, I mean, I only know like 2 generations.
So you don't really have to shoot your messengers if you're asked really a direct question about your own beliefs. So Anthony is giving his own reasons and stuff. So that's kind of how we usually think of it.
Back, but yeah, they were all religious. So I was raised with it, but at an early age, I was always skeptical. I was just a very inquisitive and skeptical kind of person. Good morning. So I do meet a lot of people, especially people who are studied in it and they're really committed to the belief being true, and they do services and they look at their belief gifts, I think is what you said, or would you call them spiritual gifts?
That's the technical label on it, but I've heard people call it other things. So
Yeah.
You don't have to get hooked up on it.
And I meet a lot of people who say, listen, Anthony, there are so many reasons why I think that this is true that you just can't knock out one or two. There's just this whole wide variety of, yes, they're important, and yes, they're the reasons why I believe it, but there's just so many of them that nothing could actually caused me to realize that this belief isn't true and possibly abandon it or lower my confidence in it. And one question I've been wanting to ask people if I meet someone like that is, what is the one thing that you find yourself sharing the most with other people that don't believe it? What's the thing that you found the most convincing? Because that, I think, might be one of the strongest spokes in that wheel.
I would say physical protection. That would be for me. Absolutely.
Physical protection?
Physical protection, because I've had, with my job, so many close ones and buddies who didn't have the privilege of having it be a close one. It wasn't a close one for them. It was it. You're done. And I've had enough of those, enough talking to, I spent a lot of time at university trauma, going back and forth, and you can ask them and they'll all argue about it. If you asked about is there a God kind of thing, they'll all argue back and forth kind of thing with each other.
Are we talking about other colleagues of yours?
Yeah,
or
I say
people?
other colleagues, because I have to go there. Unfortunately, I have to go there a lot. I have to go through trauma. And I would say between that and my experience, so between that and experience on the street, I would say my physical protection and seeing, I guess, if you were to, open it up, seeing the miracles and things like that happen on such a
I was about to highlight that one
basis,
too.
some noticed, some unnoticed.
Good comment.
That it's like there's clearly something else at work that's out of my understanding for why would I not die, but why would this guy die? Why would I just get hit by a car, but he actually got run over by the car? Where's the determination in this? But then to stand back and say, oh, this is just random chance. I've seen too many like that couldn't be random chance.
Here's what I hear you saying, and correct me if this isn't it, is that in your career, you have a high risk career, and you're encountering threats all the time. You have a tendency to avoid some serious trauma. You're avoiding physical injury on a frequent basis. Your other colleagues are not.
Oh no, I've had physical injury.
Oh, you have as well.
Yeah, let me clarify. It's not because I have no physical injury and they get it all, and I'm just the lucky protected one with the bubble around me. No, it's not that at all. From what I see, there seems I don't see coincidence. And I can give you kind of an example in a second. I don't see coincidence, but I do see there is some sort of order. There is some sort of clear. Everyone seems to have a place and a time, and we're not. It's not up to choose them.
Can I test the spoke with a question?
Yeah,
okay. So my question is.
It's a wooden wheel.
I was actually talking to a guy who had a new bike, and he was talking about like the material of it. It's like titanium, and it's super strong and super light.
It's one of those bikers, like $400 seat or something.
He told me his bike was $3,000, something like that. Anyways, I want to test one of these spokes. So the spoke, I think that the strongest spoke in this wheel for you is the physical protection that you think that you're getting, and because you're getting injured and that type of thing, but for the most part, you're avoiding serious injury.
No, if I would flat out die, that wouldn't necessarily change it.
No, I'm not asking that.
I was gonna.
No, my question is, if there's sort of a hypothetical here, but if you came to understand that these instances where you're avoiding serious injury, if you discovered that you didn't have a way of telling that was really the God helping, or if it was actually coincidence, if you couldn't discern between the two and you lowered your confidence in avoiding physical injuries, would that have an impact on your view that a God was real?
What should we name this this technique that he's doing right here? It's like a
test.
checking. It's a test of like his. Is that your true rejection? I think is Eliza Yudkowsky said at one point on Less Wrong. Like, is this your true, reason? It's like a check for something that's actually connected to his confidence. What should we? Do we have a name for this? We just say what it is, what he's doing.
Is he verifying? He's verifying the disconfirmation criteria, right?
Validating it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's asking if this is a criteria of disconfirmation. He's checking to make sure it actually is. So criteria check or reason check?
And we've already gone through this like 3 times in this conversation. Mm-hmm. The criteria check. It seems like a real really putting some weight on it, as if before I even pull on this thing, I want to make sure it's attached.
Maybe just reason check.
Reason check. Yeah, spoke check. I mean, if you're going to use the spoke analogy.
Okay. One thing I love about this too, he takes this so slowly, and he really walks it through on a slow pace. And I think his patience really pays off here. Because I'm listening to this, and I when I heard back the first time, I had a question right away, and I probably would have shortened it way shorter than this. He took this, and my videos are long, but he took this in a long about way that I think took Caleb along for the ride. I think Caleb felt really comfortable with the way Anthony really laid out in his own words what the disconfirmation criteria are, and whether or not it would truly affect the confidence if they discovered there was no reliable way to know one way or another that this is a good reason. So I really, foundation check, Jenga check. Some good comments here.
Well, it may be a reason that's not the foundational reason. It's just you could have reasons that aren't a foundation that still would lower your confidence if they were wrong. Foundations are very core, broad categories of claims. Go ahead.
I like how Anthony is. I haven't seen this before, but I like how he could possibly set up a test at this point, and that if someone believed in a higher power, and if someone did not believe in a God, you might expect different outcomes in physical protectiveness. And if there's a way you could test that, or is there anything out there that you could point to you of people who believe in something happens to, and people who believe in things and nothing happens to? I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but yeah, he's possibly setting up a test to question the reliability of his belief.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still confused at the beginning where it seemed like the proof was that he was spared and the other people weren't.
Yeah.
And then he says, "No, it's not at all like I get out of the injury."
Oh, right. That's true.
That was backwards.
Right. So
I
that
didn't
wasn't
get
that wouldn't be a test. That's what I was thinking of. I guess that wouldn't be a test then.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to keep going.
I'm already at the point. I have no idea what caused this, what caused that. Did he want this? Let me give you an example. So the other day we brought in a guy to UH. He had been shot in the chest, shot in the leg, shot in the foot, 3 bullet holes. Okay.
Yeah.
We bring him in there. They throw him up on the table, and I have to be there half the time for us removing evidence from the person. He's alive, and we're thinking, okay, no.
This is a colleague of yours?
No, not the guy on the table. He was a victim. He was. I'm not sure if he was a student or if he worked or something like that. I'm lucky to get a name kind of thing. As we're going through, they go for the first bullet. First bullet is passed clean through his chest. And at that point, they're all kind of like standing back, like the nurses and the doctors, because we have a lot of the students still in the room, a lot of the medical students, because this is UH and this is how they do things. So,
Trauma, yeah.
Bullet just passed clean through, passed through the right side of his chest, missed the bones, missed arteries, missed anything slightly important. It was just flesh wound.
I see Eddie from Deep Discussions is in the chat. So Eddie, are you on the SE Review channel yet in the Discord? If you're not, DM me or
You
get in
should.
contact. Because feel free to come in if you'd want. We don't have too much more time, but
Definitely.
maybe next time for sure. Definitely want you in these things.
And they're all kind of like just weird. And they popped off his shoe, and a bullet came falling out, completely intact. The front of the bullet, just the lead. It had gone inside his shoe, done a whole circle around, just plopped into his, resting on top of like his sock. It didn't pierce his foot at all. It just completely traveled around. We popped it off, and they were just like at that point. And I was standing there too. It's kind of like I'd been at the crime scene. We'd seen all the bullets things. How is this kid living through this? Because he was out that day after being shot straight through the chest. We're kind of like, from the little bit I knew of the human body, but from talking to them, they're like, we know too much of the human body to say, hey, that would hit nothing major. There's something else was going on here. And sure enough, a week later, we get a guy who comes in. He gets shot literally the same spot. He was here, walking, he gets shot same spot. He was dead within like 24 hours. And I talked a bit with the medical staff, and this is just an example of one story. And it was like, there seems to be some sort of decision process outside ours about whose time it is, whose time it isn't. You get one person who gets shot, same exact spot, they're perfectly fine. Another person, no. I talked with them a bit. Is this like, oh no, they just have some medical thing. They're different. They're different on the insides and things like that. And the consensus I got from them was like, no, we're the experts in the field. We know how this body is supposed to work. And the kid last week should have been dead. Should have been absolutely dead.
So I think it's an argument for making rents. You can't come up with any explanation for how this could be without invoking a god, I think.
I see situations like, and that would just be one
too improbable. It must be God.
Example of many. That's not necessarily, it's my physical protection over somebody else. It's more of I see these situations that I get thrown in, and firsthand experience. It's like, was this just coincidence? There's no way that was coincidence, because what are the odds if you take that as a coincidence? And so I see that as a that definitely contributes to the viewpoint that there is a higher power. And like I said, once that happened, there actually was a little mini argument over the guy as they're still working on him. One guy was like, that was a miracle. And the other guy's like, no, BS. And he walks off kind of thing. And they all start going back and forth. And I even saw among the medical crowd, there was the disagreement kind of thing. So when it's all said and done, you still got to pick your thing. And it's not like, these guys over in trauma are all firm believers in God. No, they still have their things back and forth. That was just, I guess, the first one that pops in my head from just one situation.
That's a great example.
When I don't.
But this also
look at Anthony's body language right now.
Yeah, he's definitely modeling a bunch for sure.
It's good.
It's
really good to think
really good stuff.
like that. Yeah, hand in the pocket, very casual. What was going to be your question?
Is this also kind of appeal to authorities, like these medical experts? Like, is he saying these medical experts are experts in this medical field area, therefore they have an authority? If they think this is true, therefore it is true because they're experts. Not
Mhm.
sure.
Mhm.
It's not, yeah, unless it's like a consensus of experts. Like, probably shouldn't be appealing to like just
I also
a
want to call
couple
out.
handful.
Yeah. I want to call out at the end of the day, you got to pick your thing. That tells me I'm completely unsatisfied with uncertainty. I need to be certain, even if I don't have enough information. I got to pick something.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I have to pick. Therefore, it's like using choice. Like it's just a matter of choice. It's a matter. I think he gets into faith. He says faith at the near the end of this. So it really comes down to that, I think.
I see how that would contribute towards the coincidence or the randomness kind of thing. I see where a situation like that would contribute towards the idea that no, there is a higher power that makes it very clear, hey, it's your time, it's not your time, and that decision's completely out of my understanding. Because
Are there? Hold on a second. Sorry.
even
Going
think
overhead.
I can't bowl us.
Okay.
Army base just over the road.
At least they're not firing off artillery or something.
Firing it that way, but yeah.
Okay, so are you saying that there are coincidences and then there are things where they can't be coincidences, and because you have that hypothesis, your explanation is God?
I think it would come coincidences. I feel often like some sort of excuse for something we don't understand. So obviously it's a coincidence. I have no idea what just happened.
An excuse for something we don't understand is your definition of a coincidence.
I think sometimes I would use that as if I were to actually, when you actually use a word and you think about how did I just use it? Because sometimes
I'm amenable to changing definitions of words. I'm not going to lock you in. Like,
no,
dude, that's it. Yeah.
Because I was going to say, but if I were to stop back and I would look, how did I just use that word? I'd probably use it as I don't get it, or that's an excuse, or I don't see how that matches up. If that answers your question.
Who is determining, in your view, whether something is a coincidence or it actually was the higher power that made it happen? And you gave this wonderful example of one guy died, he got shot in the chest, and the other guy lived. And in your view, I'm not exactly sure what you're saying. Are some of those things coincidences? Are some of those things the God?
No, from looking at the Bible, if you go with the approach of believing the Bible, I guess I should fix all that. If you go with looking at the Bible and you're trying to understand God's character, or even if you were to dismiss the whole Bible, and you're like, okay, let's look at a supernatural being, just from his, from the Bible, you would see that if he's created everything, time.
Yeah, Mark.
I just find that super fascinating when, like talking about coincidences, and I talk to several people like this, and when people don't know something and it's a coincidence or something, and for some reason it's something about being human, it gives you license to then assert that it's this other thing that I don't know what it is, so it must be this other one thing, when obviously it's a logical fallacy when it could be any number of things, but since it's not this, it must be God.
False dichotomy type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was almost like therefore aliens. It was, if you take it from the Bible, but oh, never mind, you can do it without the Bible. But the Bible. Where did that come? Where did that all go? That was bring it in. No, shove it out. Bring it in. No wait.
This just shows how just merely expressing your own views, just you probably haven't even expressed them in that way before, and just letting people talk and listening lets them, hear their own thoughts, hear their own reasons. Yeah. That's great stuff. Keep going.
So should we skip to near the end if we only have so much time left?
We can. It is.
I think it ends. It's hard to say because it's a to be continued episode, but it ends pretty well, if I remember correctly.
I'll skip to 10 minutes left.
Okay.
I think we'll see where it goes. I think like he mentions faith around here. We'll see.
And years ago, you have to make a whole lot. And then you have to decide, if what I'm doing, is it really bad? Do I believe in morals? Do I believe in a right or wrong? You have to make all these decisions that don't necessarily have, it more just influences you in your life. How are things going to result, kind of thing.
You mentioned faith and trust. Are those synonymous?
I mean, if we wanted to go to like dictionary definitions, kind of thing,
I love that question.
We're using Webster's.
I'm interested in your definition of the word faith, because it's one of those baggage words or suitcase words that is helpful to unpack, because a lot of people have different meanings or usages of that word.
So I was going to say, I guess I probably use them interchangeably. You've probably heard 1,000,001 illustrations from people.
I have.
I guess, but a Bible verse that pops up to head, and you've probably heard the Bible verse in Proverbs. I guess probably a big verse for me, it's trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not to your own understanding, and in all your ways acknowledging him, he will direct your paths. And if you want to get nitpicky about, well, did they translate the word right? Being trust should be faith, have faith in the Lord with all your heart. Well, whatever way, I guess in my life, I guess I use faith and trust pretty interchangeably. I have a lot of
Trust.
Well, and the million illustrations I'm not going to get into that you could. I'm not
chair,
let's spare the hour.
The bridge here.
Let's
we might have faith or trust that it's going to hold us up if we were to walk across it, I suppose.
Well, it's funny because
Did you listen to Anthony's chat with Peter Boghossian's class? That reminds me of that, like the bridge example, using faith as like clarifying the word faith and how people use it. Did you hear that?
I haven't heard that.
I don't know. I don't know if I've seen that. Was it?
I mean to.
Were they both together in the same video? Anthony and Peter.
It's a podcast.
Yeah,
Anthony was
I'm behind
invited.
on that podcast.
Yeah,
I'd like to hear it though.
Peter had Anthony as a guest in his atheism class maybe a couple months ago, and it was just released on a podcast I think last month. But Peter has this great way of clarifying what people mean by faith, where like if you are just in the jungle and you come across this bridge across a chasm and there's a guy there and he says, yeah, I have faith that this bridge is good. Is it a rope bridge? Feel free to go across it. They talk more about how to use that thought experiment with the bridge, and I probably don't get it exactly right, but it clarifies how if someone just merely has faith, it's probably not the best idea to go across that bridge.
Well, yeah, I want to listen to that. We should put that in the show notes or something. But I'll probably listen to that right after this broadcast.
I like that example because it raises the stakes of choosing between faith and trust.
Yeah, like the guy says, I have trust that this bridge is good to cross. What are another ways? Like, I have hope that this bridge is good to cross. Which of these words would you feel more comfortable going across? Yeah. So, yeah, we'll keep going on this. Yeah.
It's the last 2.5 years. Lately, when I think of a lot of illustration, I think a lot more just even my gear at work. I have a lot of trust in my gear, but I've even seen the limits of it. Dang, on so many levels. You're like, I wanted you at this moment, and here you are. You're jamming on me. You can't do, or my taser. That's a love-hate relationship.
These would be wonderful examples where you may have had faith or trust in something,
and it lets you down. And
it let you down.
Yeah, and so that's because once you sit in a chair for the illustration, things and breaks underneath of you. You for the rest of your life, you're touching these chairs and you're feeling underneath, or with a car, and things like that. And that's where we get into an illustration. It fails, but I think for me, don't let me forget.
I'll try not to.
I'll always hold you accountable. No, okay. So I think, and for me, a lot lately, it's been like when I think of. If I had to illustrate things, I go back typically to a lot of gear at work. But like I said, I've seen it fail, and it's a terrible spot to be in. Well, okay, it comes down to a choice. For example, one time I had I guess just to illustrate it, but to give me
there's choice again.
An idea of how I work, how I arrive at things is kind of more, not the illustration more. This is how I arrive at something. One time when my taser problems was bent, which is really bad when you need to tase somebody. It doesn't do anything it's supposed to do. But a guy, he was barricading himself, attacking people, had a knife. It was just bad. And for whatever reason, I was like, I got the knife from him. So I'm like, this is a tasing situation, a shooting situation. Let me tase him. And my prong bounces off. And so now it's not going to do anything. I'm like standing there and he looks at me. I look at him and we have this tug of war match over my taser. We're wrestling back and forth. And the whole time I'm thinking, my stinking taser. It was like that cartridge. It was, when it's all said and done, I'm going to write a letter to Taser. And I'm going to get all. And I sat back when it was all said and done. I looked at the video, talked with my buddy, and he's, oh yeah, I saw the thing bounce. He was messing with me actually. He was like, I didn't see the thing bounce. A month later, oh, I saw that taser bounce. A month later, I don't know what you're talking about. And he'd go back and forth. I was like, you need to tell me what it actually did. I need to know. When it was all said and done, I had a bad cartridge. And it sounds really funny, but I had to really decide, do I want to carry this thing again? It totally let me down in a bad situation. What am I going to do? It let me down what I'm going to do. And I was like, you know what? Okay. I'm going to still carry my taser. I'm still going to use it just in case. And I had 2 more situations I had to use it. It worked wonderfully. It did its job.
Excellent.
And then I had a 4th situation. Not the cartridge, the whole taser itself just done. Completely gave up the ghost. It was done. It turned off everything while I'm on top of somebody and we're having this. He has a fork and he's trying to go at me. And I'm like,
what?
It stops working. And I'm like, this can't be happening. So I'm like, just start using it like a bat and hope this works out well.
Yeah.
It's not,
or
it's like, it weighs less than
escalate
a pound. I was like, yeah, where's he going to escalate?
it.
And when it's all said and done, the guy didn't get injured. We ended up bringing him to the hospital. We got him help. And I had to go get a new taser afterwards. And it was really one of those, I'm going to sit down again. Do I really want to carry this tool? Is this tool worth this didn't work.
Yeah.
This didn't work. And so it had to, I guess, come down for me. Am I going to rely or faith or trust or whatever? Am I going to trust that this thing is going to help me out when it's all said and done? And so for me, it was, I guess I have to trust that it's going to do what it needs to when the time comes, and or improvise, maybe grab one of those chairs from the illustrations if it doesn't work out. And so, but I know other guys, they don't even have it not work out for them. They've never even carried one on their belt. I know some people, they won't even carry it because they have no faith. They have no trust. They've never even had those experiences. So when it's all said and done,
Could you start over? I'm sorry, because
that's fine. For some people I know, they won't even carry it with them. They have no faith. They have no trust. They never even have one of those many situations I've had because they've never even given it a try or something like that.
Okay.
So I know some people, it's kind of like the taser thing. They come to God. They see what everyone has gone through, maybe me. And they're like, there's no way. I'm not going to take this. I'm not going to accept this. Look at how your life has worked out. Look at how it's going. Look where your life is going to end. There's no way I'm going to have this belief in God. Look at what you've missed out, or look at the choices you've made. There's a whole lot better way. I'm going to forget that. There's other people, and they don't even look at XYZ or something and like, you know what? I'm still going to have faith in this. I'm still going to trust this. And I guess you take a guy like me if you're to take the totality of things, I guess for me, it's just such a no-brainer for the believing in God. I guess more for believing in Jesus. It's based on everything I've heard and based on everything I've seen, from things from the Bible, from things with the Jewish nation, from things with science, from ultimately the belief of right or wrong and how do I think this goes. It ultimately just comes down to a choice of mine. Do I want to believe this, or do I not want to have faith and trust? And that's, I guess, really what's come to me. There's something in my head or something in my heart that finally decided, oh, this was enough for you to believe this instead of XYZ thing to make sense. I know someone could say, oh, that's just genetics, or that's just misinformation, how you finally arrived at this. And I wouldn't be able to label unless you help me right now and we get this figured out for, why do I actually not over something else? Yeah, and I guess somewhere in my head I had to ultimately decide, I'm just going to have faith and trust in this thing.
Right.
Like the taser.
What I love about the taser example, and I'm really sorry that happened to you. I would be panicking if my taser didn't work and somebody was freaking coming at me with a fork or some other.
Anyway, yeah,
some other weapon of some sort. What I hear a lot when people bring up real world examples where they are applying faith is that it has an ability to demonstrate that it let you down, that it's unreliable,
right?
That I probably shouldn't trust this as much as I really might normally, like the taser. And you give this great example where you started maybe questioning the faith that you're having in your taser because it had let you down in situations. But here's the thing. When I talk to people who say, I'm also having faith or using faith to conclude that all my spokes are strong enough to support the structure, to support the wheel of belief, that they don't have the ability to determine in this life whether the faith that they're using, that they're relying on, that they're trusting, can support the conclusions that they're arriving at, that can actually support the belief.
Nice.
That can support the justifications.
Like if you're to isolate like one circumstance.
Right. So here's my question. So do we have a way to actually test the taser? Do we have a way to test the faith that is so crucial possibly to supporting the spokes or the reasons for the belief?
Like 4 answers popped in my head at once, and I don't think either of them. So.
Oh, such a tease.
I like that.
Yeah, such a tease.
I like this exchange.
You know, he
I like
listened. He really listened that and didn't say much for the last like 5 or 10 minutes. He just listened to that story, and then when the story was over, he empathized with the story and said, "I too would feel disheartened by my taser not working, and then he just connected that to the importance of testing." And I think that was a great way for him to take that and jujitsu it, so to speak, or just like take it and kind of like look at it from a different angle, to kind of like shed new light on that story and then empathize with his conversation partner. That was a great way to do it. Slow and steady.
I really like this interlocutor too. I love it when people are really thoughtful and they have this insight and they really want to think about it. They're not there to be defensive. They really want, you get the sense if it's true, he really wants to know it. And he's ready to get on this journey. And I'm just kind of curious where this will go next. I like this exchange. That's nice.
Yeah, me too. Can't wait to see more. We'll definitely have it on as a cue to review in one of these next episodes. This is really great. And
second interviews are always my favorite.
I have inside information that we'll have to wait till Thursday.
All right.
Yeah, so we are still trying to do this thing every Sunday, and if you guys in the chat or listen back later, feel free to give us any suggestions for what we should watch. Dali and I have been going out pretty much twice a week for the past few weeks doing conversations, and unfortunately LA has had more of a lockdown happening starting tomorrow, and I'm actually flying back to Florida Tuesday, so I will be waiting until probably mid-January or maybe February to do more in the park SC. So in the meantime, I'm going to be doing more big screen VR or just other Discord conversations. Fun. I love that.
Yeah.
That's fun. And maybe we can review one of those VR conversations, or if any of you guys have any more conversations. Mark, maybe.
Oh, that's what we should have done. Maybe we'll do that next week. The one that you did with the there was a kid around the campfire, and we talked about the election getting stolen.
Oh, did the Democrats
commit fraud? That's so good. That's so good. I love.
I don't know how
so
old.
Much.
Don't know how old the kid was, but it was definitely a kid, and he was talking about voter fraud. It was interesting. Mm-hmm. It was fun.
Timely.
And but I'll try to also stream on my Twitch, and you can chat with me in Discord. These big screen VR streams. I don't know what time I'll be doing it, but just to keep a lookout in the Discord. Any other announcements from you guys?
Just on the off chance that you guys are new to SE and you're watching this live stream, please subscribe to the Street Epistemology International YouTube channel. Check out the Discord yourself. If you haven't ever used Discord, it's a great place to start. Get to meet new people who are also trying to figure out how to charitably understand other people's ideas and gently challenge them. And check out my channel. I'm Abstract Activist. That's my YouTube channel. Also do some SE here and there.
Yep.
Anybody else want to go?
Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, and please check out Being Reasonable. It's a radio show / podcast that I do. It's a SE program, but it's kind of a long format. And I really try to take a guest and take them on a journey and see where we end up. And sometimes we end up in interesting places. So.
So I look forward to seeing any of you on the Street Epistemology Discord, where on the weekends I'm part of 3 different 3-hour practice sessions. So if you want to come practice with me directly, face to face or video to video, maybe just ear to ear, come to the Street Epistemology Discord.
Yeah, those are always a lot of fun. And yep, I should be uploading more videos soon. I got a bunch from doing SE in the Park from Dali and Big Screen, so keep on the lookout for that. Great. Everybody, thanks again for watching, and
Thanks,
we will
guys.
catch you next time. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.